It's WCW NWO Thunder, only on the PlayStation game console. Choose your competition, pick your weapon, and play Thunder till your thumbs bleed.
Feel my power with WCW NWO Thunder.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Retroactive Sports Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew Lenz, and joining me is the other host, co-host with the most, Johnny. Gaming, jamming, Jambalaya Townsend.
I'll take it. No, I don't understand it.
I don't understand it. I just threw in the jambalaya.
I like it.
A little
I
hungry.
like it.
A little hungry, I guess.
Yeah, I get it.
Get hungry for jambalaya. So, Johnny, last week or 2 weeks ago, or whatever, last episode, we did our top 5 favorite sports video games. And
That's right.
we were doing our most hated.
Yes. Spoiler alert. All mine are basketball.
Mostly mine are football. So there you go.
That makes sense, I think, because it's the sport that we like.
I've never come across a baseball game that I hated. There's been baseball games that I didn't like.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. There's been baseball game, but I think any baseball game at its core, you can sort of have fun with.
Or that's always probably me too, being a brand loyalist.
Yeah.
Like if I had to say one that's kind of like one that was it was like, okay, World Series baseball on Sega. This is a kind of an honorable mention. I liked the game, but it seemed like if you didn't hit a home run, you weren't getting a hit.
Yeah.
And I hit like 127 home runs with Ken Griffey Jr. one year because
he's the man. That's why.
So, I mean, even like Ken Griffey Jr. baseball, I didn't hate it. It just wasn't the best. If that's the way to go with it.
The reason that I believe I had that on my on my favorite list might have been honorable mention. The King Griffey ones, because that's the one that we would play over at Trevor's house. Me, him, and Derek would play that baseball game on the Super Nintendo, and it was a good time. But that kind of goes back to what you're saying. Baseball games, for the most part, I'm sure there's some really bad ones that we're just not thinking of, but
yeah.
But for the most part, you can find something to enjoy about them. But when you're a more of a hardcore fan of a certain sport, I think you're a little bit more harsher to that game. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, my list being all basketball related games makes sense because that's my main sport.
Are you ready for
and of course we have our buddy Matt's top 5 hated list too.
Yes. I'll start with his. His number 5 is NFL Pro Era, the first one, which was for the MetaQuest VR. I don't know, that Facebook VR thing.
Yeah.
I own it and I don't even know what it's called half of the time.
Well, do you agree? Is it bad?
Yeah, I agree what he says. It's cool in theory, but the fun kind of runs out.
Yeah.
Like when you first play it, it's pretty awesome because you get to see everything. You're the quarterback. You select your play by like looking at your wrist.
Yeah.
So it's like an actual wristband. You actually have to throw it. You have to accept the hike. But then after a while, you don't play defense. So you kind of just sit on the sidelines.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So that's where it gets like, oh, now I got to wait for another offensive series.
So it really is just like being a quarterback.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I get what he's saying on that one.
Yeah. I think last time you went first, so let me go first this time.
Okay.
I'm going to go with my number 5 as for the Nintendo Entertainment System, Jordan versus Bird 1-on-1.
That is a horrible game.
For a game being two of like if you said Johnny named 2 basketball players you love, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird would make that list. And as a kid, I was like, this is going to be the greatest basketball game of all time. And spoiler alert, it is not good. We played this for the Retro Bliss podcast, me and Trevor, and the memories came flooding back to me of, yeah, this game is not good.
That's kind of how I feel about my number 5.
Oh, what's your number 5?
Quarterback Club for Super Nintendo or Sega. This is kind of a Big Mac situation with me. See, like I forget that I don't like Big Macs. So every once in a while, I will go. We discussed this on
Yeah.
panel.
I kind of think your hatred of Big Macs is why you don't like Mac and me. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Okay. That's your conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
There's more than just that. But
That's the only conspiracy theory that I will subscribe to. Is that what I just said?
I'm going to be the next topic of history creeps. Is Andrew's hatred of Mac.
Yeah, we're gonna make it an
I wanna
incredibly
Carter-
specific episode.
Carter and Chris. Well, and I can't wait for Chris to overly dig in on it.
Yeah.
But Quarterback Club, like this is something that when I started kind of collecting or getting back into retro games, I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, I remember this. You get to do the QB challenge, which I loved every year. And then the NFL got rid of it because they can't let $50 million quarterbacks get hurt. But I loved watching it. And then we got it and I got it. And then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I remember this and it sucks. I suck at it. It sucks. So
Does it have like any? So here's the thing too. Like I was one of the games I wanted to put on my list. I couldn't because I could not for the life of me remember the name of it. But I had this basketball game for my PlayStation that my dad got me for my birthday because he got the wrong basketball game. I wanted NBA Live and he got this one instead by accident. And I played it and like it was nowhere near as good. But it did one thing really awesome that I wished that other games would do, and they never have done it. And that is if you made a highlight play, it would show the replay, and at some point it would pause the replay and then like put a border around the guy who's doing the dunk or whatever, and make it look like a basketball card. And I was like,
that's
I
pretty-
love that. I love that. And I was like, that's the only reason I kept playing that game because the rest of it really sucked.
I think the only redeeming quality this game really had is something when we rented it and my brother found it is they had different in-game scenarios throughout NFL history.
I'll see that. Yeah, that's it. I
So-
like it when games do that. Yeah.
But other than that, it's very kind of tricky to play in a way. It's a lot of like button mashing to get a guy to throw
yeah,
a
yeah.
certain way. And it just is like, no, I'm just gonna go play remote control on the NES now. That's
Yeah.
all. I still actually go back to it and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this.
Yeah, I understand. All right, what's Matt's number 4?
That's number 4 is every Madden before 1997.
So the early Madden games.
Yes, because they've all aged terribly. I kind of agree with them because this is the passing windows era. I don't know if you know what that is. So you know how if you say play Madden now and you go to pass the ball, it has like a little the button icon kind of over the wide receiver. In a
Yeah.
way, like or you could see or you know what receiver to throw to. So for the early ones on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, they had what was called passing windows. So all of a sudden you would hit hike, and then at the top of the screen would be windows, and it would show your wide receiver and if he was covered and by how many people. And then you would
Okay, yeah.
press A, B, or C.
So basically, how open are they?
Yeah. And it was it was cool in the concept.
The theory sounds good.
Yes. But the only redeeming quality that the old Maddens, I would have to say that I kind of miss, even though it's not that realistic and Madden's supposed to be realistic, is when your player would get injured and the ambulance would come onto the field and just mow
Oh.
everybody down. So, So that's kind of like the redeeming feature, I gotta say.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. All right, my number 4 is I think you'll agree with this one, Andrew. Bill Lambeer's Combat Basketball.
You know, I have wanted to dip my toes into that water,
Yeah,
and I'm like, no.
I need you to just to enjoy. Let me just. This is a PSA for anybody who wants to make a basketball game. The top completely 100% top down view. Never do that. It sucks. It's
Yeah,
awful. Don't do it. And also, it's Bill Lambier. I mean,
and it's combat basketball.
yeah. Well, I mean, I get it. It fits his personality. He wasn't necessarily known for his finesse, but why did he get a basketball game?
Because it's only combat basketball. It's not what Charles Barkley shut up in jail. I still haven't even touched my toes into that one.
Oh, that one I want you to. That one's actually quite fun, in my opinion.
I think those are things that I'll have to play and see and give a little review on. Put them onto both of the YouTube channels. I've been looking for other things. So it's mine.
Yep.
Number 4 is Stanley Cup Hockey for the Super Nintendo. This is something where I saw it and it was supposed to have like improved graphics. And it was like, it just seemed like, but the problem is the camera. Like a lot of early games, is the camera would turn you constantly.
Yes.
Going to the other end of the ice,
and then it would turn.
Like, it wasn't like a smooth thing. It was like a turning.
Yeah.
And every other game kind of, it feels like they almost had a crowd. This was just all black.
Yeah.
And I saw this. My friend Dave had it, and then we played it, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this.
Yeah, there's been a history of basketball games that would do that too, where whenever like the possession changed, the camera would flip sides.
Yeah.
And I absolutely hate that.
Yeah, that's how this was. Like if you ever see it and reading it too, I knew there was something. I knew it had NHL teams, but it did not have any actual NFL or NHL players in it. Hopefully, they didn't have any NFL players.
So that just means they had the NHL license, but not the player's license.
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
NFL football on NES.
Yeah,
not a fan of this one.
All right, what is Matt's number trace?
His number trace is you might have to help me out on this one. WCW NWO Thunder can only use one move to win in arcade mode.
All right. Fun story. That came out in an era where I was a single young man, had a job, and I spent my money on video games. And of course, I love wrestling. And guess what? I love WCW. So I had this game, and I concur. It is not good.
Oh, it's on PlayStation. That's why I never touched it.
It is not good.
It's no Revenge.
Oh, good Lord. Don't even put it in the same breath as Revenge. That's not even
World Tour.
I would put it akin to the world, none of those games. I put it akin to the what were they called? Those WWF games for the PlayStation that came after the good wrestling games, where the wrestlers look very stiff and they seem like they always held their arms out to their
like
far out
SmackDowns and stuff like that.
It's kind of before those. I'd have to look. I want to say it's like Warzone's one of them, something like that, but they're not good. But it's akin to those. This is what I'm thinking of. You have to put in actual button combinations to do moves, sort of like you play Mortal Kombat or something like that.
Oh, are you talking about like the arcade one where it's like Undertaker shoots out like tombstones?
No. That one I think has some fun to it.
That's what
these are trying to be simulation wrestling games,
and they fall completely short.
Yeah, but like nobody wants to, you know how good the reason that the Revenges and the World Tours and the No Mercies and WrestleManias are good is because one of the things that really works is how they do your controls, how you actually do your moves. And it's very innovative, and there's a lot of options with it. Nobody wants to try to remember button combinations like it's a fighting game in a wrestling game. And that's what that was. And I want to say, I think Thunder did something very similar. And also, but WCW Thunder, the show, I do recommend.
Yeah, I love Thunder. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, my number
yeah, you're
3.
number 3.
I'm going to go back to the Nintendo with the Magic Johnson Fast Break.
I have never.
You've never played this game? Is it because you're a Celtic fan? Well, you should play this because you get to hate on a Lakers game because it is awful.
What was this? Nintendo?
Yeah, on the original Nintendo, the NES. It's one of those games that decides that anytime you do anything of note, the game's going to pause itself and let Magic Johnson's 8-bit persona come across the screen and say 3 or
Oh, geez.
slam dunk, and it stops the game dead to do this.
You get a poster inside.
Oh, that's probably the only redeeming quality is that poster, but it is not a good basketball game.
This was an arcade game too.
I bet the arcade version is probably slightly better, but the NES version, the one that I played, is not good.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I never even heard. I'm actually surprised because my dad was a huge Lakers fan, and he'd be like, "Hey, why don't you guys try this?" And
Maybe he knew it wasn't good and he didn't want to sully the good name of Magic Johnson by playing it.
maybe I'm glad for that one.
Yeah.
My
He was being a good dad, I got to tell you.
my number 3 is another wrestling game. So I am what you would call, when it comes to wrestling, a lapse fan. We
Yeah.
talked
I
about
think most of us are at times.
Yeah. So first wrestling game I got back after those that I actually bought with other than those wonderful NES wrestling games, those WF wrestling games,
Yeah, those LJNs.
was WWF Warzone. Mad
I think that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah. Okay. That's like, this is pre war or pre WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy. And so we're getting back into wrestling. And why not get wrestling?
This is exactly the one I was trying to think of before.
And
Yes.
why not get a wrestling game? And this game sucked so badly. We were like,
You see what I was saying about how stiff the characters actually
Yes.
are? Yeah.
yeah, this game was so stiff. All you could do was punch and kick. You're like, oh man, I can't wait to do the stunner. I can't wait to do this. No, you're not doing any of those moves because it is literally impossible.
You have to put in like the most ridiculous Mortal Kombat finish 'em type button commands to do it.
Can't like there's tons of great like little like the Royal Rumble and cages and stuff, and it just all sucks completely.
Yeah.
Plus, too, I guess if you get the PlayStation version, like they give out little promos.
They
And
do. I remember that's the
Well-
version I had. Yeah.
Most famous one is Ahmed Johnson, and you can't even understand what he's saying.
I think you can find those on YouTube. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the Ahmed Johnson at the end of this instead of the outro. Instead of the outro music, I'm just gonna put in his promo. But
Smart.
yeah, I remember we did like a gauntlet match, and I won by a punch, and I hated because this had energy meters, and it just didn't. And then WrestleMania 2000 came, and I was like, yes, this is what we needed in wrestling.
Yeah, much better. Like it's night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is Matt's number 2?
Madden 23. I've hated them since Madden 22, and this is the middle ground. I got to agree, Madden's not. I personally feel, looking at it, Madden hasn't really done anything great since Madden 05. That I feel was like the pinnacle of Madden football with everything. And I could see why he would say this, because Madden it's just put on a new menu screen, same crap every year. Menu screen, same crap every year. And the things that you loved about Madden, they're like, let's get rid of it. That's not where you can mess around with ticket prices, and that may sound like it's
No, I
kind
get
of
it.
cool in a way. I always go back to Madden '05. So Madden '05 had EA Radio,
Yeah.
where it was, it was fake, but it was a guy, Tony Bruno, and he would pretend like he did like or he would do interviews with players, and then he would come up with like breaking news that was in the game. And Madden doesn't do any of that anymore. They just took all that fun stuff out and
I kind of feel like the newer sports games are sort of trying to go away from making it look like it's a presentation that you'd watch on TV. And that's one of the things I loved about the older ones is they would try to do that.
that's what I loved about the old college footballs with the ESPN, and they would be
Yeah.
sponsored by like Old Spice and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think it's because you got EA, who owns all the rights to the NFL. So nobody can make an NFL game. So there's no competition. Like I have NFL 2K5. That's a really great game, but I'm kind of still a Madden purist, and I love Madden '05. But I could see why people gravitate towards 2K5 because it is very much an ESPN based game. Chris Bird shows up and everything else. But I think that's the problem. Like 2K owns the NBA. I don't know if they own all the rights.
They're the only one. They don't own the rights. Like EA could put out another NBA Live. They just haven't.
Yeah. Well, they got crappy too.
They most certainly did. Yeah.
And I was such an NBA Live guy and kid. So it goes to your number 2 then.
My number 2 is NBA 2K24. The one that came out this last year. 25 is about to come out. I'm an idiot, and I did pre-order it because I've literally owned every 2K game since they've come out.
Yeah.
And that's my own the psychosis is that I can't let one go without at least playing it. But
yeah, I feel you. I bought Madden last year.
But okay, the actual basketball game itself is really good. Like it's top tier simulation basketball. My issue comes in the fact that I love playing the My Team because it feels like you're collecting basketball cards.
Yeah.
But you get to play with the basketball cards, right? So my brain's like, this is the greatest thing ever. But I'm purely, as they say, a no money spent guy where I will not spend money on these packs. I will earn them in the game. Or when they give you locker codes is what they call them, where you can kind of get lucky. Maybe you get somebody good. And that's how I built my team. I never spent a dime on it besides buying the actual game. And this last year, 2K would always do this thing where they're telling you that they're actually communicating with the community, and they'll put out these posts. But they lied constantly this past year. And also, they lost the license to Kobe Bryant, but they didn't tell anybody, and they still haven't mentioned the mumble to Kobe Bryant because each year, if you collect so many basketball players, right, which means you would have to spend a lot of money in the end to get this. The big prize is going to be like the ultimate Kobe Bryant card that you can play with. Suddenly, out of nowhere, this for this game, they go, we're not doing that now. So all you guys this is when some people like within 100 players are getting it. So you've already spent if you're that close, you spent thousands on this game, and like, oh, by the way, we're not doing that now. And they never said why.
Well,
and it's just a lot of scummy, obviously money grabbing practices for a game that you're already spending $70 to start with just to play it in the first place.
Yeah, I hate the microtransactions.
Yeah, microtransactions in all games have kind of ruined them. But that's why, unless your game's free, if your game's free, I let it slide. You know what? I'm like, you know what? I get it.
Yeah.
You got to make money somehow. I mean, I'm like your Fortnites or whatever. Like, I understand it and I get it. And I'm not mad at that because I didn't pay for the game. But when I'm paying $70 just to play your game in the first place, and you have the gall
to
like, hey, you can't play this Glenn Rice card unless you pay money for these packs, and you don't even know if you're going to get them when you open these packs in the first place. Very maddening. So I'm hoping this next one's going to at least be a little better, and they are bringing back the auction house, which is much needed. But we'll see. We'll see. Sorry, I've had that
No problem.
pent up aggression against this, which is literally, honestly, and just adds to my psychosis. I'll play that game literally every day, at least for 10 minutes, just to see what's happening.
I go with I put down Madden. I do like a season, and then it gets to a point where I gotta get into free agency and sign people and with
Yeah.
money. Then I was like, you know what? I deal with enough finances throughout my day. I'm not.
Yes. Sometimes you just want to unwind.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna do this.
That's
So
like working a game.
yeah, I know.
Oh, one of the things they did to, like, I brought up Glenn Rice. There's this Glenn Rice card I really wanted because he's one of my favorite players to start
Yeah,
with. And of course, it's of him in his Hornets jersey too. On top of that, so I'm like, I have to get this card. The only way you could get it is if you won 1,000 games of his one game mode. And I'm like, I'm just not going to do that. That's insanely ridiculous.
yeah. That's I don't have the time anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh man,
you would have to play a game like every day for hours to get that because there's only like a certain window in which you could actually do that to get them too as well.
my number two is Madden 13. It's hands down the worst Madden I ever played. And what really pissed me off is, like I said before, I was big into like the franchise modes. Like
Yeah,
I gotta play the franchise. I'm gonna play as many seasons as possible. Well, I like to say kind of like update the roster in a way before I start playing, before the actual roster updates come out. And I don't I didn't even have I don't even think I had Wi-Fi in my house at this point. So that's how so I could even like unless I hooked it up to the to like by Ethernet, the old
yeah,
school way, I was not getting it. So I literally hated this game because you could not change the rosters before the season in the game once you started franchise mode. And then I started playing it, and then I felt like ever play like NBA Live 2004 is the same way where I felt like a lot of guys were just ridiculously underrated. Like
yeah, yeah,
ratings were like, really? And I don't like when they're completely over, but
yeah. But at least there's some sort of realism to it.
yeah,
Yeah,
like I know LeBron was a rookie, but he was like a 69. And I'm like, really?
nice.
Like yeah. A lot of guys were just ridiculously low. And that's how I felt about this game, where I was like, there's just so many guys that I think should be rated higher. And I think this is the only game where I traded in pretty much the week after I got it.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like I went to GameStop, and I remember my friend Dave was like, why would you do that? Why would you just trade the game again? I was like, I don't want this near me anymore. Just get it away. Just
Yeah.
I think I got a ridiculous amount. I think I got, which is crazy for GameStop, $25 for it because it only came out a week ago.
Yeah.
But I hated it to this day. Like we were at a game store, my son was like, oh, I want to pick up this one. And he held it up and it was Madden 13. I said, don't ever bring that trash into my house. He was like, will you buy me a game? And I'm like, yeah, if it's in reason, $10 or under, I'll buy you a game. And he picked up Madden 13. I was like, nope, you can spend if you got your own money, you can spend it on that. I'm not spending it on that trash. I don't want it anywhere near my house. That is how much I hate Madden 13.
Did he get a game?
He did get a game. I think he actually did end up buying it, and he said it was trash. And I said, I told you so. Why would you buy it?
He had to find out for himself.
Yeah, well, it's trash. It's just a trash game. I don't know how anybody else feels about Madden 13, but it's just 100% trash.
I never played it, but I agree with you. It's complete trash.
It it's horrible. I hate it.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it. I want to know what the scores are on this, but people gave it 3.3 stars on GameStop. It's horrible. It's stupid. It's horrible.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Number ones. What's Matt's number one most hated game?
It is NBA 2K21 for the Switch. He bought it for
Yes.
He bought it for $3. Game has terrible controls. It's likely because probably because it's on the Switch.
It is because it's on the Switch. Yeah. any of the next gen games that try to get on the Switch, they have to. Man, I love my Switch, so I'm not putting down the Switch at all. But they sort of have to dumb it down to make it work on the Switch because the Switch is just not near as powerful a machine as the other game systems. And that's why Nintendo games are so good on there because they make them for that system.
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing. But when you're trying to take a game like NBA 2K or any of these big sports games that are made specifically for your PlayStations and your Xboxes, and you try to dumb it down and put it on the Switch, which in theory makes sense because the Switch is like a crazy selling system. So many people have one.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. But yeah, I knew that was going to be a bad idea. I never once thought I needed to get a 2K game for my Switch. So I get it, Matt. At least you only were out $3.
Yeah. I've never I wanted to get, like, I saw the show, MLB The Show was for Switch, and it's obviously was like cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll get it for this. And then I was like, you know what? No.
There's a reason it's cheaper.
Yeah, I'll stick to what I got.
Yeah.
I'll go. The greatest thing about the Switch is the online. If you do like a little $50 a month or $50 a year membership, and you get to play all the games online.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Did you see the new mature 17 and plus on the Switch?
I did not.
Yes, it now has Perfect Dark and Turok on there.
Oh, I didn't know they were putting those on there. I didn't know they were making them 17
plus.
You
got to download a separate Nintendo 64 one.
Oh.
So there you go.
All right. My number one is... All right. I have a weird love for this game. So it's a humongous love-hate because this game absolutely at its core sucks. It's awful. But it's one of those games that's so awful you want your buddy to play it if they've never played it before, just so you can enjoy them just discovering how truly awful this game is.
You need to send me this list when we're done so I can I can go with Johnny's hated games. That
I'm going with Shaq Fu as my number one game. Technically, it's a fighting game, but it's Shaq.
It's Shaq based.
Yeah, it's Shaq based. The story of this game is the best part because the story is so astronomically absurd that it's great. Where Shaq just randomly walks. He has a game in some city, and he randomly walks into this one old shop. And somehow gets transported to another universe where he's got to fight.
Is it as bad as Michael Jordan's Windy City Jam?
I think it's worse.
Is it? Because I played Windy City Jam, and that was...
I'm not saying Windy City Jam is good, because it's not. But just even as a fighting game, this game is awful, Shaq Fu. Like, the controls are not good. The characters besides Shaq are very forgettable. And it's also, you'll never beat the computer.
Oh, it's one of those?
Yeah.
I can't.
But you don't know if it's because they made the computer so good or because the game itself is just so bad. If you've never played Shaq Fu, I encourage you to find a way. Do not pay for it. Find a way to play it just to enjoy or watch video of it. Just enjoy just watching that awfulness of Shaq Fu. And they made a sequel, by the way, which I never played, but they did make a sequel.
That's horrible that they made a sequel. I have an honorable mention before I get to my number one. Speaking of another bad wrestling games, ECW's Hardcore Revolution.
That one broke my heart.
That one was horrible. Horrible. The controls were so broken in this game.
Yeah.
Funny.
And I remember being really hyped when I found out there's going to be an ECW wrestling game coming out.
And
it was that.
But my number one, I've mentioned it before, John Elway's quarterback football. The worst football game I have ever played for Nintendo. This has got to be the first Nintendo football game I ever played, and it was horrible. Thank God for Tecmo for coming out with Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl, because I think we would have really been stuck with John Elway's quarterback football, and I don't think I would have loved any football game or wanted to play any football game ever. This game sucked. I've never seen a game that sucks on the Nintendo and sucks in the arcade. Like I've never seen it. Like it could be great in the arcade and then all of a sudden suck once it get ported to a console.
Yeah,
But
because you're
this
dumbing
game,
it down.
yeah,
Yeah.
but this game sucked on everything. I'd rather play shitty 10-yard fight than this game. And if you've ever played 10-yard fight, you're gonna be like, what is wrong with you? I'd rather play what is it? Pro action football on the Atari 2600. John Elway's quarterback football. That little fucking stick in the arcade where, like I mentioned before, like
Yeah, I remember looking
back
this up
for
because of you.
kickoffs and passes. It's great for a kickoff. Sounds great. But for a pass, come on. Can't I just hit a button? It doesn't make it just it's fucking horrible. Okay? It's just horrible. I hate this game. I wish they would burn every cabinet, every copy, everything about it. I think this is why I don't like John Elway too. Is because of this.
Because his game's ruined you.
Yeah. Like if we had to go with a pop culture like to figure out who the greatest quarterback in the 83 draft was, I would pick Dan Marino, not because he's my favorite player, because I feel like he's done more for pop culture by being an Ace Ventura than John Elway lending his name to the shitty fucking football game. And that's all I got to say about that.
I was trying to look up. Oh man, I was just curious, just what Google users, doesn't it always tells you the percent who like that game?
Yeah.
It's 88%.
I don't know why you would like this game. I don't know if it's because I was a young kid at that point, but it just was like so frustrating and so annoying to play this game.
So you're saying that's what you want for Christmas?
I will fucking murder. Like to the point where I see this, like I used when Oogie Games actually used to sell like retro games. I saw this and John Elway's big dumb head on the cover of it.
Yeah.
And I just got angry. I was like, oh, I don't know who likes this. I can't stand it. It's a top-down view, which I know most football games are, but it's horrible. I just
Yeah.
there's nothing I like about it. There's no redeeming qualities. Somebody's trying to sell a graded copy on eBay for over $500.
No, good luck.
Yeah. There's a Tiger handheld. That's how much it tells you about this. So
Hey, some of those Tiger handhelds are great. I using that I have a lot of nostalgia for those, but I know what you're saying.
You and Matt can have that stare at that thing. I had one Tiger handheld and I used it for a computer for my GI Joes. It was like Cerebro for X-Men. But yeah, John Elway quarterback football, just I don't know what it was. It just for a young kid that was like, oh boy, I can't wait to play a football game.
Yeah.
Just wasn't anything good about it. Just nothing good about it. I haven't played it in years, but I still won't go back to it.
Yeah. So you hear that, John Elway? You hear that?
Yeah.
Do better.
The funniest thing I've heard about John Elway was he's the only quarterback that looked like the mascot on the helmet.
I said the same thing about Jerry West.
Oh, that's
Because he is the
much
logo.
better. Yeah. Much better. But that is it. Those are the video games we hate. Or actually love to hate in a way. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of both. I have weird nostalgia for these games that I do not like.
yeah,
So,
I'm not.
you brought back Warzone memories to me. So thank you for that.
At first, I was like, this list is going to be impossible after number one. And then I just started thinking about stuff and things just started flooding back to my head and just getting.
Yeah. Well, kids today don't understand that when me and you were growing up, especially starting with the Nintendo, you really had no idea because you didn't have internet. You had no idea if the game was actually going to be good or not. You were sort of taking a chance with every game you bought or rented if it was going to be good.
Well, there was that, and then also too, like you mentioned with Magic Johnson or even John Elway, you flash a guy's name on there.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, if he endorses it, I got to.
Yeah, if Jordan and Bird are in this game, I got to play it.
Yeah. But no.
Yeah.
I hope John Elway's quarterback football just burns. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being grumpy, but I hate everything about John Elway's quarterback football. But that is it. Let us know your most hated games. Let us know there. I should ask these questions too on the good old Facebook page as well. I think I'll post those at some point. But John, check us out. Like I said, Facebook, YouTube, finishing up the Tecmo Super Bowl season. And with that being said, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Get ready for what that stupid little grin off the face, cause it's time to meet the real superstar of WWF. And I'm gonna beat you, and no one gonna come save your sorry carcass. Just make sure you got plenty of insurance policy.